Let me tell you the story of a very sad video game character. And the reason it's a sad video game character is not because her story is sad or what happens to her is sad. It's because she has literally no place in the game. Her name is Lorelei from Borderlands 3. I wanted to make a video on bad character design and big game design mistakes, but I ended up separating this into two videos. One with bad NPC designs and character designs in games, and one with bad core game design in games. And this video is not gonna be about the characters, it's gonna be about the actual game design mistakes in games. My name is Dave, I'm an indie game developer from Romania, and here are 4 pretty damn nasty game design mistakes in big games. Let's get into it. Now, if we're talking about Borderlands 3, I think we also need to talk about Borderlands 2, because my first example is from Borderlands 2, and it's something I found super annoying while I was playing the game. I noticed this is also a problem in Hollow Knight, and that is having so much money and having nothing to spend that money on. I absolutely loathed this in Borderlands 2 because I would amass so much money and would have literally nothing, like nothing to buy with it. All the gear in the shops, all the weapons, all the extra items in the shops, they were complete trash. And with so much money you wouldn't even care about buying ammo because it's nothing. It's literally like paying 2 cents for some ammo. Everything you ever wanted to buy, you could just buy it because you had so much money. And thankfully, they kind of fixed this in Borderlands 3. And now you can buy upgrades with your money, and the cost of those upgrades, the more you get them, it increases exponentially or multiplicatively. Here's the point, here's how you fix this. For example, in Dark Souls, right? The more you level up, the more it costs. Right? But it's not a linear increase. It's not like the first time it's 100, 200, 300, 400. And then the more you level up, the more it costs compared to the previous level. And here's how Heroes of the Storm does this on numbers. I'm not sure about the numbers in Borderlands, I'm not sure about the numbers in Dark Souls, but I know the numbers in Heroes of the Storm increasing in power, on health, mana, whatever, is 4%. Like every level, all your stats increase by 4% extra from what they were the previous level. And I think that works brilliantly as a game design, because it kind of forces you, if you want to farm, it forces you to farm monsters and enemies close to your level, because farming anything lower than that is not gonna give you an effect, right? It's not gonna give you nearly enough resources. I really think I made this point clear because it's very important that games have something to do with currency. You can't just amass currency and not use it. And like what for an achievement? That's that. But what are you gonna use all those resources for? Like an achievement? Hey, 1 million currency. Woo! There's no point in being rich if you have nothing to do with the money. That's what communism taught us in Romania. Another point about this I want to make is not that you did not have anything to buy, but everything you wanted to buy or could buy is trash. So you get to this shop, these vendor machines, right? And you look at their stock, and there's dozens of items, man. There's dozens of items, and they're complete trash. What even is the point? What even is the point in selling only trash items to players? There is none. There's no point. You would never buy weapons from those things. Unless it was the weapon of the day or the item, the gear of the day, which, yeah, in some cases, yeah, it was better. But in most situations, I would never buy weapons from a vendor. Because they were trash. They're so bad. They're literally like really bad. So yeah, make sure in your game players have things to buy with their resources. And even if you have a huge stock of things to buy, make sure those things are actually worth to buy. Very important. Please do that. Alright, let's get to my number 2. Big game design mistake in games. I noticed this in Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus, and thanks to these amazing article I found on Google, I have found so many more examples of subtitles done poorly. Now, Initially, I wanted to look for games without subtitles, but there aren't many games, any new games without any subtitles released anymore. Finally, game devs understood that subtitles just make the game better. For myself, personally, I cannot play a game without subtitles. And it's not that I'm hard of hearing or anything, it's just that sometimes the audio design of the game is really bad. So I played Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time recently. And yeah, I know that is a very old game, so I'm not gonna consider it for this. But let me just tell you about Prince of Persia before I move on to Wolfenstein. The audio design in that game is terrible. The dialogue design, the sound is terrible because sometimes the volume is so low you cannot hear what they're saying. Sometimes it's super high. Also, this is such a common problem in that games have strange accents for characters or just like start mumbling and you don't understand what they're saying. Unfortunately, I've seen this too many times to know that I really need subtitles. And I really need subtitles turned on by default. Allegedly, there was a study in which subtitles were turned on by default and around 90% of the players kept them on. So there's that, keep them on. But the problem with Wolfenstein, I'm gonna show you a couple screenshots on the screen right now and you tell me if you think this is problematic. If you said yes, then you're right, this is problematic. Because there are multiple problems with these subtitles. 1, poor contrast, and 2, low font size. And it pains me to say this, but so many games do this. So many games have poor subtitle choices, poor subtitle fonts, and I've struggled with this all my life. I've struggled all my life, especially as a non-native English speaker back in the days. I really needed subtitles, man. I really needed those things. Otherwise, I'd miss key information pieces, I'd miss lore bits, I'd miss instructions. And you gotta understand that so many gamers, I think it's probably the majority of gamers are not native English speakers. They're not American, they're not from the United Kingdom. So I really think that for us non-native English speakers, subtitles are a must. And not only for non-native English speakers, but for people hard of hearing, for people deaf. And it's not only about subtitles in dialogue, it's about all the subtitles in game. Like if a phone is ringing, you need to have an indicator on screen that that phone is ringing. You can't just rely on sound, again, because hearing. Your subtitle font also needs to have good contrast. A good trick to use is just overlay a black panel that's slightly transparent just behind the font. That way is not very intrusive, it doesn't obstruct much of the player's view, and it looks so much better. I used to do this in PowerPoint presentations. I could not just overlay text on an image because the contrast would be bad, but I would overlay a rectangle that's slightly transparent and overlay the text on top of the back panel. And it worked miracles, trust me. You can try this in your PowerPoint presentations if you want to overlay text on an image. That's a trick you can use. But yeah, in general in games there are other problems as well, such as lines of subtitles being too long or poorly split, poorly cut to the next line. The list goes on, man. It's gotta be subtitles. The game is gotta have subtitles and they're gotta be good. And if your game does not have subtitles, I'm judging you hard for that. Alright, my third point is gonna transition into a very popular and very adored game, and that's Skyrim. I think we're all familiar with the opening scene of Skyrim, right? When you're in you're in the cart and you're being transported to your execution. This one has to do with storytelling. And storytelling in games is very important. Yes, first it's very important to convey the actual setting, the location of the game, and Skyrim does this fairly well. Alright, it tells you, it shows you beautiful mountains and beautiful medieval landscapes, but it also tells you about these awesome gods. Well, yes, it does help you get into the comfort of this world. It helps you immerse yourself in this world, but at this point you have no idea who those gods are, especially if you're playing your first Elder Scrolls game as Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. When I played this game at the first, I did not understand what those names mean, and I thought, hey, wait, hold on, am I missing something? Who are those guys? And I was happy when I found a video on YouTube talking about this exact problem I had with Skyrim intro. Like, I was a bit lost, and I'm so glad I was not alone in this endeavor. There are other people who also thought that's a bad thing. Now, this may be subjective, right? Some people may think this is just part of the mystery, like, ooh, I can't wait to find out who those are. So it might be that, but for me, that was not the case. For me, the case was that I had no idea who those guys were. I did want to find out who those guys were, but I was also slightly frustrated that I did not understand. I thought I missed something, right? So that's the thing, don't info dump on players. That's one core writing design, right? Generally, when you want to start your story, you don't want to just info dump like, oh, 3,000 years ago this happened, and the names and the gods, and you want to introduce the player smoothly and little by little to your story. You can't introduce 10 names all at once, you can't introduce locations. This is a very important thing that some games do wrong. If you have more than 2 names per paragraph, it's wrong, and it's gotta connect. The core example that I can give to this is not a game, but the most common way I see this used is that the game goes like someone went from Windhouse in Archvale and descended down Appleshire, down into Throxmog, and encountered Limulau's Brimstone. If your game intro sounds like that, you gotta scrap it, man. You gotta scrap that. You gotta introduce it more lightly. Names are very important, and you can't just introduce all names at once, because that's gonna stir confusion. Again, obviously not for everyone, but for many people it will. Trust me, this is not how you gotta make your intro to your story, for writing, for games, movies, for anything. Before I get to my number 4 item on this list, if you've been watching this video thus far, I'm kindly asking you to please hit that like button, and if you like my content, do consider subscribing to my channel. I mean, hitting the like button is free and it helps me a lot. Like, for real, it really helps me a lot if you click the like button and if you like this video. Also, if you want to keep in touch with me, if you want to contact me and talk about literally anything, you can find me on Facebook and Twitter, which I have linked down in the description. Let me get to my number 4 item on this list, and it's something related to World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft has lots of problems. I have not played World of Warcraft in a few years, but these problems have always been a part of World of Warcraft ever since, I'd say, Wrath of the Lich King, Cataclysm. If you're not familiar with World of Warcraft, don't worry, I'm gonna explain it right now. So in World of Warcraft, you want to level up your character, right? In World of Warcraft Classic, it's not the end game that matters the most, it's the journey towards the end, and that's how the game should be. I don't think the end game is what should matter the most in a game, I think it's the progress. And leveling in World of Warcraft used to be really fun. Like, it was a really fun journey, it was a really fun experience, going from zone to zone, continent to continent, world to world, getting stronger, increasing the power of your character, feeling like your character gets stronger. And that was until heirloom items came along. Now, a core part of the RPG experience is gear. It's a absolutely core of the experience that you do dungeons, quests, kill big strong monsters, and you get better gear, you get better weapons, you get better armor, and you equip those weapons and boom, instantly you feel so much stronger. You can kill monsters faster. And that's absolutely an amazing feeling in RPG games. Heirlooms strip this away. Let me tell you about heirlooms. Heirlooms are items which scale with your level. They're supposed to be these expensive items that you only buy once you have a max level character and you get an heirloom sword, let's say, to help you in your leveling journey, your second character. But what happens is that's not actually the case, because in time the gold cost for those things became insanely low due to inflation. And now what you'll see a lot in World of Warcraft while leveling your character is you'll see tons of people full from head to bottom, from head to toe. You'll see them full of heirloom items, everything, all their armor pieces, heirlooms, weapons, heirlooms, everything about them is heirlooms. So what does that mean? It means every time they increase in their level on their character, their heirlooms increase in level with them. What the problem is with that? One, it makes your leveling experience banal. To put it that straight, there's no challenge. There's zero challenge in leveling your character if you're full of heirlooms, because those things are overpowered as. Second thing, strips the player of the joy of finding new gear. World of Warcraft has been putting this stigma on leveling for quite a while. The way the game is approaching leveling is that it kind of feels like a grind, like you try to grind to the max level and then all the content is at the max level. So that's why so many players want to get through the leveling as fast as they can, and heirlooms unfortunately do help you get fast from point A to point B. But that's not the point of an RPG. The point of an RPG is the journey, the feeling that you're getting stronger, and there's no point in leveling if... What's the point in leveling if there's no joy of finding new gear, there's no joy in feeling like you're becoming stronger and feeling like you're actually achieving something, right? You're spamming dungeons with your group of other 5 random other people who are full of heirlooms. You're spamming dungeons and you're face rolling your way through the dungeons because, hey, the only reason you're doing dungeons is for the XP, because let me tell you, the awesome rare items these dungeons drop are not nearly as strong as those heirlooms, man, and that's absolutely saddens me, because that's completely bad approach to leveling. That's a really bad approach to the journey of a character in such a big and awesome world. And the third thing about this is it's linear progression. I've talked about this in another one of my videos, which I have linked down in the description and in a postcard up there. Definitely do check this out, I talked more about this in depth. So your player character should not level up linearly. When you gain an item, when you gain a level, it should not be slightly better, it should be much better. The player should level up in power spikes. The power of the player should be in power spikes, right? It should be like this, like whoop, whoop, whoop. Well, the enemies, that's different. The enemies should not level up like the player, the enemies should level up linearly, right? And why is that? It's because when the player acquires an item, a powerful ability, the player wants to feel strong. The player wants to feel like that did something. Right? So you strike harder, you hit harder, and for a few levels, for 2-3 levels, yeah, you're really gonna strike harder, but then, yeah, the enemies are gonna catch up. And yes, in the end, it's the same power level. If you distribute it linearly, if you distribute the power spikes linearly, it's pretty much the same thing, but it's that difference that matters. It's that difference that the player becomes stronger than the monsters. And then the monster becomes slightly stronger than the player until the player gets another awesome ability, another awesome piece of gear, and boom, the player instantly is just more powerful. And that's basically all I've had to say about this 4 game design mistakes in big games. And definitely do tell me, do you agree with this? Do you disagree with this, and why? Let me know in the comment section below. Also, if you haven't liked this video, please do, and if you like my content, if you like this video, if you want to support an indie game developer, an indie YouTuber, an indie philosopher, I'm not a philosopher yet, please do consider subscribing to my channel and following me on Facebook and Twitter. My next video might be for bad NPC designs, character designs, I'm not sure, maybe it's gonna be for good character designs in games, I don't know, we'll see. Until next time, I wish you a merriest of Christmases and the merriest of game development design outro. I hate outros. I don't know how to do outros. Bye.